Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Welcome everyone. On Saturday I posted a video looking at active Major League players and their likelihood of making the Hall of Fame. And I got this comment in the video from, I don't know, out0kad, saying it might be interesting if you pretended that it was 1990 and you didn't know future events. And yeah, that sounds like a really fun idea for a video. Yeah, I was, I followed baseball the closest in the 1990s. So I'm going to pretend that's 1995 and look at 10 players, 10 active players sort of at the midpoint of their career and predict, pretend that I don't know and do it as non-biasedly as possible and predict whether I think those 10 players, would make the Hall of Fame. And then, of course, we can look at the if they actually did afterwards and sort of see how that panned out. Just it's really more of like a fun exercise for me, and hopefully some of you will enjoy it as well. But before jumping in, I have 3 quick announcements, and I'll make them quick. First is I'm going to be at the Mid-Atlantic Sports Card Show this Sunday. It's in Silver Spring, Maryland. I'll be set up at a booth. I'll only be there buying. So if you have some cards you'd like to come by and sell, or you just want to come by and say hi, please do. It's a great local show. And my email's in the description below if you want to contact me to set something up ahead of time. Second is my boy Jeremy Donson's auction house, CIA, Collector Investor Auctions, is starting tomorrow, I believe. Yeah. Preview is already up. You can check it out on the website. Full disclosure, I'm a small stakeholder in the auction, but I fully believe in Jeremy, and he is doing everything the right way. A lot of great stuff in this auction. You can check it out. You can register to bid for free, of course, or just follow along for fun. All that info is in the description below. And third announcement is I'm going to be doing a video soon about personal collections and the most important item to you in your personal collection. Like, what's the one item that means the most to you and why? Like, was it given to you by somebody special? Did you save up a long time to get it? Or whatever the story is, it can be something valuable or not. Could be, but doesn't have to be. But yeah, if you have an item in your personal collection that really means a lot to you for whatever reason, and you'd like it included in the video, you can send me an email. That's in the description below. I include a picture of the item and a brief summary of the story of why it's important to you. And yeah, I'll include a bunch of those in the video, which will come out in a few weeks. But all right, let's pretend that it's 1995, and I'm going to be looking at 10 active players and assessing their likelihood of making the Hall of Fame. All right, I'm going to run through these 10 players alphabetically, starting with Craig Biggio, whose rookie cards are from 1988. That's his 1988 score traded rookie. And Biggio has a career WAR of 30 as he's in his age 29 season. That puts him on an okay pace. 4 All-Star games and 2 Gold Gloves so far. Again, sort of okay, and not really much else to point to. The career totals are quite low given that he's 29. Barely 1,000 hits, only 79 home runs. Close to 200 stolen bases is again all right. 285 batting average, but I would say overall there's not really enough here to suggest a future Hall of Famer. I'd put him in the unlikely category. Next up is Jose Canseco, whose rookie cards are from 1986. That's his all-important 1986 Donruss rookie, one of the most sought-after cards in all the hobby in the late 80s and early 90s. Canseco has a career WAR of 33 as he enters his age 30 season. That puts him on an okay pace. But he's got some nice hardware, an MVP, a Rookie of the Year, 5 All-Star games, and a World Series ring, and some career totals, which are looking impressive. 300 home runs, almost 1,000 RBIs already at age 30. A decent shot of ultimately getting 500 home runs, which would make him a lock. So I think he's in the better than 50-50 category. We'll call him probable. Next up, Will Clark, rookie cards also from 1986. That's his 1986 Topps traded rookie. Will the Thrill has a career WAR of 43 as he enters his age 31 season. That puts him on a very strong pace. He's already above 40. So already in the minimum consideration category, just at the age of 31. 6 All-Star game appearances, a Gold Glove. He's 4 times finished in the top 5 for MVP voting. The career totals are not super, but he's had 1,500 hits, 200 home runs. I think he's in the 50-50 category at least, perhaps even pushing into the probable category. Next up is Dave Cone, rookie cards from 1987. That's his 1987 Donruss rookie. And his WAR and age is very similar to Will Clark. He's got career WAR of 42 in his age 32 season. So he's already into the minimum consideration category, and he's at the age of 32. He has a Cy Young, 3 All-Star game appearances, and 2 strikeout titles. I'd like to see the career total a little higher. 129 wins is a little low for the, let's say, the past halfway mark of his career, but a strong winning percentage. I put him in the 50-50 category at least. Next up, the kid, Ken Griffey Jr., rookie cards from 1989. That's his all-important 1989 Upper Deck rookie. And I'm going to make a bold prediction here. 30 years in the future, this card will still be very, very relevant in the hobby. Griffey on a very strong pace early into his career, just age 25, and he already has a career WAR of 40, 6 All-Star games and 6 Gold Gloves. It would be really tough to see him not getting to the Hall of Fame. He's only played 7 seasons, so technically he could get injured and not even reach the minimum 10-year threshold, but he would have to fall off a cliff pretty significantly to not eventually make the Hall of Fame. We'll put him in the probable category, but, just short of being a lock. Next up, our second pitcher to consider, Randy Johnson, rookie cards from 1989. That's his 1989 Fleer rookie, which actually comes with some variations based on the shading in the background, covering up a Marlboro ad, but that's for a different video. Johnson has a career WAR of 28 at his age 31 season. That puts him well off the pace. Had a couple of really strong seasons in a row here, so he does have a Cy Young, 4 All-Star games, 4 strikeout titles, so some nice hardware. But he kind of started his career late. I think he's gonna have a little bit hard getting up the career totals. 99 career wins at age 31 puts him, not on a Hall of Fame pace there at least. So he's got some work to do. But if he can, sort of have a really strong 30s, he may get there. But I'd put him in the less than 50-50. We'll say unlikely category at this point. Next up, the Iron Man, Cal Ripken Jr. rookie cards from 1982, and that's his 1982 Donruss rookie. Ripken is in. He's got a career WAR of 85 already at the age of just 34. 13 All-Star game appearances, 2 MVPs, 2 Gold Gloves. All that makes him an absolute lock. There's no player with 13 All-Star games not in the Hall of Fame. There's no player with a career WAR of 85 not in the Hall of Fame. He also now has the consecutive game streak and various other all-time records. He's an absolute beast. He'll make the Hall of Fame on his first year of eligibility. Anyone who thinks otherwise is a dumb poopy head. Next up, our third and final pitcher to look at, Brett Saberhagen, rookie cards from 1985. That's his 1985 Fleer rookie, although it does have a couple of 1984 updates as well. Saberhagen already has a career WAR of 53 in just his age 31 season. That puts him on a fantastic pace. He also has 2 Cy Young awards plus some additional hardware, 3 All-Star game appearances, a Gold Glove, a World Series title, and World Series MVP. The 2 Cy Youngs and the strong WAR give him a very good shot. The career win total, win-loss, 141 and 100, isn't spectacular, but it's sort of good enough if he can maintain his pace into let's say his mid-30s. He should get there. We'll call him probable. Next up, Darryl Strawberry, whose rookie cards are from 1984, although he also has a 1983 Topps traded, but on screen there is his 1984 Topps rookie. Strawberry's in his age 33 season and has a career WAR of 40. That puts him a little bit light. But the real reason he's light is the last 3 or 4 seasons have been really poor. He's only accumulated 3 WAR over the last 4 seasons. If you had done this exercise 4 years ago, you would almost, make him a lock, or really close to a lock. But as it sits today, he does have 8 All-Star game appearances, which is nice, but not a whole lot of other hardware. The career totals are not getting close enough to where you start to feel confident. So I'd put him in the unlikely category, maybe 50-50, but we'll put him unlikely unless he can have a bounce back into his mid-30s. And last player to look at is Frank Thomas, rookie cards from 1990. That's his all-important 1990 Leaf rookie, one of the hottest cards in all the hobby in the early and mid-90s. And Thomas has a career WAR of 34, and he's only 27 years old. That puts him on a fantastic pace. In addition to that, he already has 2 MVPs, which will help his cause down the line. The career totals are quite light, but that's because he's young and quite early in his career. So I'd put him on a very strong pace at this point. Obviously, he could fall off a cliff or get injured or something like that. But if everything goes, normal, he should not have a difficult time ultimately making the Hall of Fame. We'll call him probable. All right, let's look how these predictions would have turned out. And let me just say, I tried to pick players with a little more interesting of a case. Like, there were a lot of obvious ones. Tony Gwynn, Ricky Henderson, Wade Boggs, Ryan Sandberg, and I just generally didn't pick those, and also generally tried to shy away from PED guys just because the PEDs throws everything off. I do have one exception to that, but first guy to look at is Craig Biggio. I said he was unlikely to make the Hall of Fame as of 1995. He ended his career with 66 career WAR. That's very strong, and over 3,000 hits. That basically makes him a lock for the Hall of Fame. So he ultimately did get in. He had almost 2/3 of his hits after the age of 30. So that's why, at the midpoint of his career in 1995-ish, I said he was unlikely, whereas he ultimately, made it without much difficulty. Second player was Jose Canseco, and I said he was a probable future Hall of Famer as of 1995. He's the one PED guy on here, so he didn't get in. You could argue it's because of that, but you could also argue he doesn't deserve otherwise. 42 career WAR is, you know, basically the bare minimum. They had some nice totals, 462 home runs and 1,400 RBIs. There's not a lot of players with those sort of totals not in the Hall of Fame. So he ultimately did not get in, whereas I would have predicted him as a probable Hall of Famer in 1995. Will Clark I had as a 50-50 or even better than that, and he ultimately did not make the Hall of Fame. He didn't even really get much consideration. I think he should have gotten more consideration than he got. 57 career WAR, and reasonably solid career numbers and a very strong peak in the early 90s. But he fell short, and it's not that he fell off a cliff in his career, but his 20s were just very, very impressive, and his 30s, were just not. So he ultimately looked at one point like he was on pace, and he just didn't do enough in his 30s to get him there. David Cone, sort of similar category. I also had him like Will Clark at 50-50, maybe a little bit better. And he ultimately did not make the Hall of Fame. He actually got almost no consideration. He was only on the ballot 1 year, only got 3% of the vote, and was never on again. He should have gotten more of a look than that. Over a 60 WAR, pretty decent career win-loss total. Had a Cy Young and a perfect game. I mean, I think it's correct that he's ultimately not in. I'm just saying he should have gotten more of a look than that. But similar to Will Clark, he had a very, very impressive 20s, was sort of well on the pace at age 30, but his 30s just were, kind of blah other than the perfect game, and ultimately the career totals were not enough. Ken Griffey Jr. was an easy one. I had him as a probable Hall of Famer, and really the only way he wasn't going to get if he like truly fell off a cliff in his late 20s or had a major injury. He ultimately, made it no problem. He did sort of fall off a cliff in his early 30s, but by then had accumulated plenty of hardware and plenty of stats where he's a no-brainer. 84 career WAR, 630 career home runs, very, very high totals across the board. Look at all the hardware in the upper right. There's no way you would, consider keeping him out. Randy Johnson was an interesting one. I had him as unlikely, and if you had gone back even a year earlier, let's say this had been a 1994 prediction, he would have been a no. He won the Cy Young in 95, which helped his cause, but he was still way off the pace as of 95. But he just went on an absolute tear in his 30s, sort of a late bloomer, and he made the Hall of Fame easily. Look, over 100 WAR, over 300 wins. I mean, absolute no-brainer, first ballot Hall of Famer. 5 Cy Youngs, second all-time in career strikeouts, and you can see all the hardware in the upper right. Cal Ripken I just threw in here because he was my guy. By 1995, he was an absolute lock, no-brainer, first ballot Hall of Famer. And yeah, nothing weird happened. He made it on his first year of eligibility. The most surprising player of all for me doing this video was Brett Saberhagen, who I had as probable and like a strong probable. In 1995, he was 31 years old with 53 WAR and 2 Cy Youngs. Like, that's not to mention a World Series MVP. Seems like, that would have been, tough to see him not get in. But he only accumulated 25 wins after his age 31 season. Really just didn't do much in his 30s. And ultimately, the career numbers just aren't, they're not enough. 59 WAR is nice, but the win-loss total and, everything else is just not impressive enough. Again, kind of like David Cone, he should have gotten some consideration. He got almost no consideration for the Hall. He was on the ballot 1 year, got 1% of the vote, and was off, never to be heard from again. He should have gotten more consideration than that. But, ultimately, I agree that he does not belong in the Hall of Fame. Next one up is Darryl Strawberry, who I had as unlikely. And if you had done this in, say, 1991, you would almost have him as a lock. Not quite a lock, but like a strong probable. But then he really just fell off a cliff shortly after there. And it's sort of a good cautionary tale of anyone looking at somebody, 8 years into their career and being like, oh, well, this guy's a no-brainer Hall of Famer. Darryl Strawberry was that 8 years in. But as of 1995, he was more like 12 years in and had just a few bad seasons in a row and quickly fell off the pace. And yeah, he ultimately did not get there and really, didn't get close. There's no sort of argument that he should be in. I guess 8 All-Star Game appearances would be your best case, but there's not much else to point to. All right, last one to look at is a fairly easy one. Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt, who I had as probable. And yeah, he ultimately made the Hall of Fame. And in 1985, he was, pretty early into his career. He was only 6 seasons in. But it was a very impressive first 6 seasons. And actually, at that point, you might have considered him a potential future, like, top 10 player of all time, which he ultimately didn't achieve that sort of status. He sort of, drifted off a little bit into his 30s, as most players do. But the career totals are still, obvious first ballot Hall of Famer. 500 plus home runs, 74 WAR. Career totals plenty high enough and some solid hardware as well. But that's it. I really enjoyed putting this video together. This is my sort of thing, so I hope a bunch of you enjoyed it as well. And let me know what any of you thought of these players or any other players from this era who, might have had an interesting Hall of Fame case who ultimately did or did not make it, and, whatever your thoughts on any of those. But really appreciate everyone watching as always, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.